Welcome in, everybody. A little bit of a late night, Tuesday night edition of the Aaron Torres Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Torres. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a great day. I hope you're not a Kentucky fan because, man, oh man, is it ugly through about the first 2 weeks of the season. So everybody come on in. We did the full episode of the Aaron Torres pod on Tuesday morning. We'll be back Wednesday morning, and I was going to wait till Wednesday to recap the Champions Classic. But after what I just saw, I think we got to go ahead and spend about 10, 15 minutes talking about Kentucky, Michigan State, and then we will do it tomorrow on Wednesday morning, 11 Eastern in our standard time. And, of course, at that point, we'll talk about the college football playoff rankings, Duke, Kansas, Michigan State, Kentucky, on and on. But everybody come on in. Final score, and it is official, and boy, oh boy, was it ugly. In Madison Square Garden, opening game of the Champions Classic, final score 83-66. You certainly want to go ahead and give credit to the Michigan State Spartans who showed up, ready to play, had a pseudo out-of-body experience from behind the three-point line. But to me, we knew Michigan State was good. I think we all thought this was a nice bounce-back spot for Kentucky, and it did not look that way. So everybody come on in. Before we get started, do want to remind everybody, everything we do, our live reactions, our instant reactions, and, of course, the show itself, it is presented by our friends and our partners, SeatGeek and the SeatGeek app. Okay, so it's that time of year. You want to go to games. Maybe you're a Kentucky fan and you're kind of out on basketball right now, but you want to go to the Vandy football game on Saturday. Well, guess what? SeatGeek is America's #1 ticketing app, 28 million downloads. And the best part about SeatGeek is, one, every ticket on the app is graded 1 through 10, right? So green dot means go ahead and purchase. Red dot means maybe you want to stay away. But what I really love about SeatGeek is that they take care of listeners of the Aaron Torres pod. How do I know that? It is because if you go to SeatGeek.com, if you use the SeatGeek app, maybe your basketball team isn't very good and you're looking to go to a concert, a show, something else. If you go to SeatGeek.com or the SeatGeek app, if you use promo code Torres, that gets you $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek.com. So SeatGeek.com, promo code Torres gets you $20 off your first purchase. And man, oh man, oh man, are you going to need it on a night like tonight? Get away from the situation because it is ugly. With that said, it is a busy Tuesday night in college basketball. No more time to waste. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and get to the topic of the day. Topic of the day, this will be a little bit of a quicker live reaction, but I'd be remiss if I didn't do it because we had ourselves a little bit of a, frankly, embarrassing type effort in Madison Square Garden by the Kentucky Wildcats. Final score in this game, as I just said, 83-66. It sounds bad on paper. It was even worse. Of course, we do have to give Michigan State some credit. And listen, saw Michigan State in an exhibition against UConn, saw them against Arkansas. They are we said it on the show this morning. They are the quintessential Michigan State team. What they do well, they do really well. And at least what they did not do well coming into Tuesday night, they did not do well at all. So what do they do really well? We talked about it. Number 4 in the country in rebound percentage. In other words, all the rebounds that go up, top, they're 4th in the country coming into the night behind only Illinois, Tennessee, and St. Mary's, okay? They also, on top of that, they rebound really well. Jeremy Fears is a phenomenal point guard, almost 9.5 assists per game coming into this one. And so I just bring it up because what they do well, they do as well as anybody. The issue is that coming into this one, they could not hit threes, and you knew it was a bad night when at halftime they had 6 3-pointers made, and they had 6 3-pointers made at halftime of this game, and they had only had 6 3-pointers made the entire season coming into Tuesday night, okay? And so that's when he knew it was bad. You do have to go ahead and give them a little bit of credit. But I would also say conversely, to me, listen, congrats to Michigan State on another impressive win. By the way, Michigan State with the early lead in the SEC standings because they beat Arkansas. They beat Kentucky. I don't know when Florida and Tennessee are on the schedule, but they might run away with the SEC this year. To me, though, unfortunately, if you're a Kentucky fan, the story is Kentucky. And right now, listen, I see people in the chat, Torres, of course you were waiting to – I'm not trying to be negative, but I am being realistic. And what I saw was awful, it was embarrassing, and it was ugly, okay? Let's go smaller picture into the bigger picture. First of all, small picture. I got to give everybody in the chat credit because I am one of those people, I believe that even if something has happened in the past, it's not necessarily a precursor to the future. And what do I mean by that, okay? What I mean is that basically, essentially, Mark Pope has never had a great defensive team in all his years coaching college basketball. Utah Valley, BYU, and now Kentucky. And so I bring it up because I watched that Purdue exhibition, and I probably shouldn't have made big picture assumptions off of it. But I said they are so big and so athletic that, you know what? They're going to figure it out defensively. And I don't care what 10 years of Mark Pope being a head coach says. What I am saying is that they'll figure it out because look at the length and athleticism on this team. Brandon Garrison and Malachi Moreno down low. Otega Owe on the wing. Mo Diabate on the pseudo wing playing kind of the 4. Colin Chandler, Cam Williams, Andrea Yelovich off the bench. I just thought there's so much size, there's so much depth that this team will figure it out defensively. And they may, but right now it ain't looking very good because that was, in my opinion, actually, I'll be honest, it was one of the worst defensive efforts that I have seen in a long time because it's one thing to not have the capability of doing it. Everybody has different strengths and weaknesses. You can't tell me that Kentucky was as bad as they looked defensively. You can't tell me they are as bad as they looked. Now they are because the stats are, it's the old Bill Parcells. You are what your record says you are. Well, it's the same with Kentucky. You are what the stats say you are, and the stats say right now that you're a lousy defensive team. But at the same time, when I look at this Kentucky situation, what really stands out to me is that just a combination of poor coaching, poor execution, and here's the most important part, poor effort. There were so many times, I'll tell you a true story. I was sitting on the couch watching this game with my wife while we were eating dinner. There were 2 or 3 times, and she's watched basketball with me for years. She grew up in LA. She's a Lakers girl, Shaq and Kobe, whatever. But there were a number of times where she said, why is that guy walking? Why is that guy slow? There was a play where Jasper Johnson got screened and the dude, Kerr Dang or whatever his name is, peeled off the screen and had a wide open jumper. And she's like, that guy barely even moved. Brandon Garrison, there were 4 or 5 times that I saw he was just either late to hedge out on defense or their effort wasn't there or whatever. And so the defensive effort simply was not there. That's problem number 1. Problem number 2, and this is something that I need to really slap my hand, I need to slap my own wrist on. Kentucky got killed on the boards. And it's ironic because when we previewed this game this morning, and if you missed it this morning, we were mostly talking Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin had the big interview with McAfee coming up, so we kind of shortchanged the preview of Kentucky, Michigan State. But I only bring it up because in the preview, I remember vividly kind of looking at the stats and being like, well, Michigan State is a great rebounding team. Kentucky, does not have their best defensive physical player in Jaden Quaintance. I'm kind of worried about it. And then I talked myself into, does Michigan State have enough offense? They barely beat Arkansas at home. It's going to be a neutral court. It's going to be mostly Kentucky fans, whatever. And right away, you could just tell, Kentucky, I don't want to do the whole they didn't want the smoke because I can't say that they didn't want the smoke. What I can say is they physically were not ready to handle Michigan State on the glass. Now, maybe things would have been different if Jaden Quaintance was out there. But guess what? You're probably not getting Jaden Quaintance for another 5 weeks. You still have North Carolina. You still have Gonzaga. You still have St. John's. You think St. John's is going to be soft on the glass? No. And so at some point, to me, it is an effort, energy, and want to thing. And that's where the concern comes in. Is 1, defensive effort completely lacked. 2, as importantly, not great on the glass, got bullied in the paint. And then number 3, I'll say this. The offense is really bad. And it's crazy because, again, this was a Mark Pope thing. I figured, this guy's always had good offenses. He took a lot of pieces last year early on that had not played together, and they figured it out. And, listen, I drank the Kool-Aid. Mark Pope said in the preseason, statistically, these guys weren't great shooters last year, but when we put him on the court, with our offense, and I know Jalen Lowe, the point guard, was supposed to be playing, but he hasn't been. But Mark Pope was basically like, put them in our offense, they're going to shoot better than the statistics say that they will. And so I only bring it up because I understand Jalen Lowe is out, but they are not good offensively. And I'm going to say this, and it's going to be controversial, and people are going to get mad. The same stagnant one-on-one offense that I heard for years, and I still hear. I heard it in the Arkansas-Michigan State game. Oh, there's the Coach Cal late game execution, too much one-on-one. I watched about 5 straight possessions in this game where Kentucky dudes went one-on-one. I remember there was about 4 or 5 possessions early in the first half. Trent Noah standing in the corner, not doing anything. Andrea Yelovich standing in the corner, not doing anything. And so this offense isn't good. And I understand that Michigan State is going to be one of the better defensive teams that you played all year, but 35% shooting from the field, 7 of 30 from 3, that's 23%. Plus 14 from Michigan State on the glass. I don't know how else there is to tell you. That ain't going to get the job done, especially when you factor it in with all of the other variables going on. And so to me, there's a couple things. One, Denzel Aberdeen's got to be a point guard. I understand that Jalen Lowe is out. I understand, and I saw people posting videos of him raising his arm, and is he okay, and what does it all mean? I think we have to, as a college basketball community, operate under the belief that he is not coming back anytime soon. I will also tell you, Denzel Aberdeen, in spot moments, was able to play point guard last year. He's got to figure it out, and he's got to be better, even if it's not his natural position. You're getting paid a lot of money, right? And I'm not trying to do the $22 million thing. But Denzel Aberdeen was a national champion. He left that to come to Kentucky. Well, now you're getting paid like a pro, so step up and do what you need to do. I would say beyond that, Jaden Quaintance isn't coming back either. You need more from Brandon Garrison, and frankly, maybe the answer isn't Brandon Garrison at all. The one thing I will say, there's only 2 guys, in my opinion, that play. Every time I've watched Kentucky, I'm going to use some foul language, but I'm going to say it. They play their asses off, and I have no questions about it. Malachi Moreno, Colin Chandler. Now, I know Colin Chandler was in foul trouble tonight. What do you have, 8 straight to open the game? Malachi Moreno, I said this after the Louisville game. Malachi Moreno should be starting. Brandon Garrison has regressed. He's soft. He was late on defense. He got bullied in the paint. Malachi Moreno plays hard every single game. I don't want to hear that Brandon Garrison's the veteran or Brandon Garrison's the this or Brandon. No. Like I said, you're a professional now, and you're being paid like a professional. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to bench your ass. And I'm trying not to be vulgar here, but sometimes stuff comes out. I'm going to bench your ass because you're not stepping up ready to go. And so no sympathy, no, rule number 73, 76, whatever it is. No excuses, play like a champion. That is Kentucky right now. I don't want to hear excuses. But what I will say, this is my last big takeaway, and then we'll get to some questions and comments in the chat. Kentucky right now is every bad cliche about NIL. And I tweeted this out tonight during the game. So what are all the cliches about NIL? And I say this sincerely, is I think NIL, let me put it this way. I don't think it's as big of a deal as everybody makes it out to be, right? Every time something goes wrong, it's blame NIL, right? Texas, I saw this on Saturday night. Texas loses to Georgia. Texas got soft since NIL. Maybe they just can't beat Georgia because Georgia's awesome. Okay, not everything is NIL related. But what I will say, every negative cliche about the NIL era that people say about other teams is absolutely true or appears to be true on the surface about Kentucky right now. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is pretty straightforward. What I mean by that is this is a team that was thrown together. This is a team where the pieces don't fit. This is a team where, frankly, there should have been enough returning production where this wasn't an issue. The guys who come back are supposed to step into leadership roles, but the pieces don't fit. It's ugly. You don't love what you see. And then more importantly, when things go bad, you can't say there's no fight because they battled back against Louisville, but wasn't a lot of fight tonight. There was a little bit of a run. You cut it to 10 in the second half, and then you immediately get the doors blown right back off of you. And so I could go on, but to me, that is the takeaway. What did Kentucky do well tonight? The answer is basically nothing. got killed on the glass, didn't compete defensively. The offense is a train wreck right now. And again, fair or not, you have to work under the assumption that Jalen Lowe is not coming back and is not going to be a part of this team in the immediate future. As I said, you got North Carolina, you got St. John's, you got Indiana, you got Gonzaga. You're going to have to figure it out, or this season is going to spiral out of control. So those are my big picture takeaways. This is what we're going to do. When we come back, the chat is humming right now. We're going to go ahead and get to some of the questions, some of the comments. Drop your comments. We will obviously prioritize super chats, but go ahead, drop your comments in the chat. And this is what we're going to do. We're going to come back. We'll take some of your comments, some of your thoughts. It is an ugly night. Kentucky fans have every right to be frustrated. I don't like to do the whole, $22 million. It's the truth, though. It's the truth. That's the fact. It's a $22 million roster, and it has not figured things out. Take a quick break, come back, take some of your questions. Be right back.
All right, we're going to get back to the show in a minute, but before we do, you know what we got to do. We got to thank our friends. We got to thank our partners. We got to go ahead and thank Cauley Puffs and CauleyPuffs.com. Yeah, you see the logo on the back of the screen right here. Okay, so I've told you all about Cauley Puffs, but family-owned company, not far from where I live. Joey, a huge sports fan, and one day he was sitting on the couch and he said, you know what? I need a snack that is both healthy but delicious, something my kids are going to love, something my family's going to love, something I'm going to love. And so he came up with Cauley Puffs. This is the new age health food snack. You don't need to go to the grocery aisle and buy all that crap, the Doritos, the Fritos. No, my friends, you need Cauley Puffs. Baked, not fried, avocado oil, no grease, healthy ingredients. But here's the best part. They taste freaking delicious. Actually, there's another best part. In addition to tasting delicious, in addition to being healthy, they are also taking care of listeners of the Aaron Torres pod. Okay, so check this out. All you got to do is go to CauleyPuffs.com. That's CauleyPuffs.com, CauleyPuffs.com, and you can get 15% off any purchase with the promo code Torres. That's Torres, Torres. It's that simple. 15% off any purchase. 1 bag to try them out, 100 bags to cater a party. Doesn't really matter. Promo code Torres. CauleyPuffs.com gets you 15% off. Cauley Puffs also available on Amazon. You obviously can't get the promo code there, but CauleyPuffs.com, CauleyPuffs.com, promo code Torres gets you 15% off any purchase. Thank you to our friends at Cauley Puffs. All right, everybody. I'm back. Good to be back. Good to be back. I see a couple people mentioning that the audio is off. I tried to fix it during that commercial. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down if it's working well. If it isn't, I apologize. Every time producer Matt is not working with me, and he often isn't with these live reactions, feels like there's always an issue with the audio. So tell me about the audio really quick. Should mention, listen, Kentucky fans, maybe you need to get away from basketball. Maybe you need a place to relax, to watch sports, to not think about what you just saw. This is what you need to go to do. You need to go ahead and check out the new Circa Sportsbook at Mint Kentucky Downs and Franklin, Kentucky. Okay, so Circa is the official hotel and casino partner of the Aaron Torres pod. The facility in Vegas is unbelievable. I was there last week or 2 weeks ago for Arizona, Florida. We did some live shows there, and I'm going back next week for the Players Era event. That is, of course, Kansas and Michigan and Tennessee and Alabama and Houston and et cetera. But I bring it up because I know a lot of you cannot get to Vegas. Well, Circa has opened up a brand new sports book at Mint Kentucky Downs in Franklin, Kentucky. All the same great hospitality of the Circa Sportsbook in Vegas. Come to the East Coast, okay? So Franklin, Kentucky, it's right on that Kentucky-Tennessee border. It's about 40 or so minutes, 35 minutes from Nashville. So if you're in the Nashville area, you want a place to watch games. And I think especially this time of year, there's so much going on. Go to the Circa Sportsbook, Mint Kentucky Downs. You don't have to buy a bunch of apps. You don't have to download anything. You can go there, you can grab a cold beverage. By the way, I'll probably be doing some live shows down there in December, and then I'll be coming back in March. Certainly hoping that, Kentucky has something to play for in March, the way things are going, because we'll be doing some live shows in March. Thank you again to Circa Sportsbook, Mint Kentucky Downs, Franklin, Kentucky. All right, here. Let's go to some of the questions and comments. First of all, Eric says the audio sounds good now. I apologize that there were some issues. War says my audio has been fine from the beginning. Well, thank you either way. All right, let's get to some of the comments. First of all, BYU is laughing right now, says Brent Peterson. You know, BYU easily could have won against UConn the other night. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's go ahead and dive into some of the questions, some of the comments. First of all, this was actually, where's the Benjamin Bush comment? Because this was the one that stood out to me. Let's see here. Where is the Benjamin Bush comment? Basically, it said, Mark Stoops is our only say. This is what he said. He said, it's bad when Mark Stoops is the winning coach at UK right now. Imagine if Kentucky football wasn't on a 3-game win streak. Imagine if Hugh Freeze knew how to call an offense and you lose that. And I'm not trying to be funny or sarcastic, but it's like, thankfully, Kentucky football has turned things around because it has not been pretty, okay? So let's go ahead and get into some of the other comments. Let's see here. A lot of the comments about the mic. See, this is why I should be checking the chat before, so I could have figured out that the mic didn't work. All right, let's see. Cope with Pope. No bad mouthing Zach Calzada. This is a Zach Calzada free stray zone. We'll do that in another one. Let's see. So this is interesting. M says Owe, Aberdeen, and BG Brandon Garrison need to come off the bench. Here's my takeaway. Listen, I don't want to do the whole cliche like middle school. I'm only playing the guys that play hard. I think that's what you have to do right now, though. Listen, and I've seen great coaches do that. I've seen Jim Calhoun play 5 backups an entire game because he's like, you guys that are starting are giving me nothing. And so Otega Owe, I've said since the Louisville game, whatever is wrong. First of all, the first thing I would do with Otega Owe, I would just have a camera on him the whole game and show him a video of his body language. The body language is terrible. Now, maybe he's hurt. If he's hurt, do not play him. Don't play him. If he's hurt, there's no rule that says you have to play Otega Owe because he's the SEC preseason player of the year and he's a returning star and whatever. I'm sorry. If he's not ready, don't play him. Brandon Garrison gets bullied every game, looks lost. He's a 30-year junior, and he looks lost every game. I wouldn't play him. I'd start Malachi Moreno. Denzel Aberdeen, maybe you bench him too. I don't know. He did not play well today. But yeah, Cameron Tucker says Owe and Brandon Garrison have been letdowns. It's bad. It is bad. Ant says Pope is about to get fired. He's not going to get fired, but I'll tell you what, I'll say this. And listen, I don't want to be the guy that always brings up the 22 million, but it was known even before the season, even before the number came out, it was one of the highest paid rosters in college basketball. And when that comes out, you have zero excuses. And I do think there is something to, patience is going to be thin when people know the resources that are being put into this program. By the way, it's not just Kentucky. That's a big reason Hubert Davis spent a ton of money on his roster. And it's kind of like, if you don't do it this year, there's kind of no excuse. Other examples across the country we can find. It's the same, by the way, in football, right? LSU. Why is Brian Kelly not the head coach at LSU? Because he asked. LSU gave. And guess what ended up happening? He kind of stunk. And when you ask for all that money in NIL and you don't deliver, they're going to make changes. I'm not saying they're making changes at Kentucky. What I am saying is that was bad and it was ugly. All right, let's get to some of the other questions and comments. I can't believe that mic was all screwed up. All right. Jaden Quaintance will not save this team. It won't fix perimeter defense. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. At the same time, every time I looked up, Brandon Garrison was either lost, guarding the wrong guy, late on a rotation, whatever. I'm not the X's and O's guy, but I can see slow, lost, lazy. I can see all that on my TV screen. My wife, I told you, Lakers fan, Shaq and Kobe, she knows basketball. You can see slow and lost on the screen. And, I just know that Brandon Garrison's not the answer. I'd play Malachi Moreno 32 minutes. I don't care. Whatever. Somebody asked me what my starting lineup would be. I don't really know. What I do know is that what I do know very well is that what I would do, there's no question about this, the two guys that are non-negotiable, Malachi Moreno, Colin Chandler. Now, I like Yelovich. I do think he's a little bit of a defensive liability. I get that. I think you're kind of stuck with Aberdeen. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head, what would I do different? Who would I play? It's just right now there's not a lot of answers, and it's crazy. Diabate, I was a guy that loved Diabate at Alabama. And, he comes to Kentucky, he plays a much bigger role. The production is not there. Now, the one thing I will say, the three-point shooting was never good at Alabama. He just, one, it was the system, but two, on top of that, I just want to make sure that I'm right on this. Yeah, he didn't take a ton of threes. I mean, 46% shooting from three. He took 26 all of last year, 1 for 7 this year. But Diabate doesn't look like the player that I remember from Alabama. Otega Oweh is not the same player from last year. And right now, I don't know where you go. Cam Williams, to me, seems to at least play hard. So that's a positive. But I don't know who you go to and where you go to because this is bad. Brent says, mo money, mo problems. I don't disagree on that, man. It's just, and again, I don't want to be the guy that blames NIL, but there's no there right now. There's no effort. There's no energy. There's no want to. And I think it's not just NIL. I do think it's the portal, right? It's guys that have not been at this school. It's guys that have not worn this jersey. And then the guys that have been there, Colin Chandler didn't play last year. Trent Noah didn't play last year. Brandon Garrison struggling. Otega Oweh struggling. And so all of a sudden, you got a situation where it's just like, guys aren't, you don't have leaders like you did last year. Lamont Butler, ultimate leader. I'm trying to think of who they had last year, but I know Lamont. Like, Lamont is the one that comes to mind, ultimate leader. They don't have that. It's bad. Everything is here. Let's see here, because Rob really put some thought into this comment. He said, I'm the biggest UK fan there is. UK is tattooed on me. Rob, keep that picture to yourself, my brother. He said, I bleed blue. The boys look lost, lazy, and not having fun. No excuses. We can't have it both ways. One day, the next best thing. One day, the best next, making alibis. Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, and listen, I'll own it right now, right? I was a guy that was excited about this team after that Purdue game. I said, Purdue played Braden Smith, whatever it was, 24 or 34 minutes, and Fletcher Lawyer 28 minutes, and Trey Kaufman-Renn 31 minutes. I forget the numbers, but I said, don't tell me Purdue wasn't trying. But the counter to that is like, I was the one that was hyping them. So I'm partially responsible, Rob. Yeah. Josh says everybody looked lost. They did. Ryan, I don't know if you're calling out Torres, but I deserve it. Because Ryan says, wait. After a preseason game, I was assured confidently that Kentucky was elite. I take responsibility for that. I was one of the people in the media that was saying that. So I got to take the L on that one. And to David Champ, I don't know if I said that right. I never thought the roster fit well together. Mo was hyped as more than a role player, like some bucket getter. Oweh overachieved last year. Not a great shooter or dribbler, so it's going to be tough. Listen, I hyped the roster because I liked the roster. Now, admittedly, I thought you were going to have Jalen Lowe, but the counter to that is I also thought Denzel Aberdeen was a guy that could play point guard if you needed him to play point guard. And so, yeah, I can't believe how bad it's gotten, how quickly it's gotten so bad. It is brutal. Couple more questions because I do want to go watch the Duke game. It's a good one. Hard to swallow pill time, UK fans. This team is cheeks right now. That means not very good. Okay, so somebody's asked me this 2 or 3 times now. He said, can we go into the G League and get a point guard? I'll tell you really quickly what I understand about the G League situation. There are a very few select players from the G League who are eligible. Okay, it is basically that group from the G League Ignite era that basically, if you declared for the draft, went through the draft process, played in the NBA, signed an NBA contract, you are not eligible to play college basketball, okay? And so I bring it up because it's like 12 guys total that are actually eligible to come out of the G League, and I don't think any of them would be eligible this year. Now, in theory, it's not going to happen, but if there was some point guard in high school that you could get to reclassify, a player who reclassifies could play this season. So, yeah, that's ugly. All right. Michael says, Hog fan here. Thank you, Kentucky. Now go Hogs and Cal we trust. Anonymous Michael says, softer than baby poo. I don't disagree. Eric says, 22 million for that roster. We are a laughing stock. Guitar Man Joe says, Kentucky can't handle the pressure. I don't think they can. And, I think the coach, we're going to have to, I'm not asking questions about like Mark Pope and his future, but everything's great at the opening press conference. Everything's great when you're winning, but this is the first real adversity. And again, I don't want to be the guy that brings up the price of the roster, but every time that they play, it's going to be a conversation. Every time they don't play well, it's a big deal. Let's see here. Benjamin says this game could kill recruiting. The counter to that is it could be better. It could be like, yeah, there's plenty of playing time. Listen, what I think Mark Pope has to do is this, and I think the recruiting thing is interesting. I think I get where he was coming from with this roster. I think that he went through year one in the SEC. He had all his shooters and his fancy offense, and there were just games where they just athletically just could not compete. Just could not compete. Alabama, they lost to 3 times, Kentucky fans, correct me if I'm wrong. Auburn, it wasn't competitive. Arkansas, I don't want to say it wasn't competitive, but you lost. And so I think Mark Pope went so heavy on athleticism that he kind of like forgot who he was and who he is and what he's about. Now you have no skill, no shooting. It's all athleticism. And it's like, what are you? Not very skilled, not enough shooting. You're athletic, but you're not that athletic. And I think I don't think it's going to kill recruiting, but I think Mark Pope has to go back to the drawing board this offseason and really think about how he put together this roster. Really quick. Brent brings up a point that I was thinking. I didn't tweet it, but I saw a lot of people starting with Kentucky media members talking about Arkansas falling apart late against Michigan State. Arkansas in the Breslin Center played Michigan State much tougher than Kentucky did. A couple more because my computer's dying again. I forgot to charge it. Let's see here. Pope is not a good coach. I'm not ready to go there yet. Mark Pope has no confidence in his team. That part I agree with. And listen, what Benjamin says, I agree. I think everyone's crushing Aberdeen. I think Aberdeen is trying to be a leader. I just don't think he can do it himself. I think Aberdeen is better in what the role that he was last year is, like the third guard, energy, effort guy. And he's got to be the point guard, the playmaker, the best scorer, whatever. It's really bad. All right, really quickly, one or two more. Let's see, because my computer's dying again. Let's see here. James says 22 million flushed down the toilet. This part I agree with from Ben. He says he needs to cut down the rotation to 8 or 9. I agree. And I thought that was the other thing too. Like there was a weird Trent Noah spurt in the middle of the first half. And it's like, should he be in? Maybe take him out, whatever. I don't know. One more and then I'm going to run because my computer is not in very good shape here. Let's see here. Let's see here. They call him Vol for Life, Mitch Barnhart. That's incredible. This is good. I got about $500 worth of enjoyment out of that Purdue scrimmage, so I'll take that off the 22 million. Not good. Not good at all. All right, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I love you guys. Thank you for joining me. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, we'll be back in the morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll talk about this game. We'll talk about Duke versus Kansas. And I'm sure by then there will be a new plot line with Lane Kiffin that we need to go ahead and discuss. So we'll discuss all that. I am going to go ahead and run. Again, we truly appreciate everybody's support joining us here after this game. And we'll be back tomorrow in the morning to do it all again. Shout out to Torrent Craig, Rachel, who hates my voice. Remember, SeatGeek.com. Promo code Torres gets you $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek.com. Promo code Torres gets you $20 off your first purchase. Thank you to SeatGeek. We will be back.